All right, Big Man, today's Tuesday. It's September 6th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Here with Chief. Chief, how are you?
I'm great. I'm back.
Good to see you.
I had a good restful day yesterday on Labor Day. Did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Because I figured I labored hard this year. So
Yeah.
now I'm ready to get back to work.
You certainly did.
Yeah,
Chief.
I earned that day off.
You certainly did.
Yeah.
This is you. Now you're excited. You're pumped though.
The calendar has flipped. It was a little warmer today than I would have anticipated, but I'm putting on a hoodie regardless because this is fall season. I had a flannel hanging there, but I'm like, it's just not quite. We're not quite there yet. But there's going to be a day in a couple of weeks when I come in here with that red and black checkered flannel and maybe a pumpkin spice something. I'm going to say happy fall, Ed.
Yep, the flannel's on. You have a scarecrow in your front yard.
Little hay bales, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hay bale. You're thinking about your hay rides this fall.
Can't wait.
Apple cider donuts are on the menu.
Who doesn't like an apple cider donut? Have you ever been to that place? It's on Clark. I think there's a couple locations. Fire Cakes.
I've never been, no, but I've heard of it, obviously.
They do. This is probably 2019 I did this, but I took a little trip down to Starved Rock. And got up the crack and got there early in the morning because I want to have those cool temperatures before it got too humid down there.
Yep.
And stopped off at Fire Cakes for some apple cider donuts, and I think that is maybe the best apple cider donut I've had.
Really?
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
I think never mind. It's not apple cider, but I was gonna say, for people who have been to the Wisconsin Dells, Paul Bunyan's, there's this place.
Okay.
It's fucking.
I've been up to the Dells. I don't recall going to Paul Bunyan's.
It's a fucking
it's awesome
place. Yeah, it's a great spot. They have. It's not. I don't know. No, it's not apple cider, but it's regardless. It deserves a shout out.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great to be back. Fucking NFL's here.
You ready for it?
Yes and no.
Did you enjoy the first weekend of college football? First real weekend?
I didn't get to really because we had. Well, I went to the tailgate, the White Sox tailgate.
Yep.
So I went home though and I watched the Notre Dame Ohio State game, and then I watched
Dave Williams.
Oh, we got to talk about that. Yeah, we will get to that all in Red Line Radio.
Yes,
I'm sure.
But that first pitch,
and I
was so disappointed.
I can't wait for his.
Whatever the excuse train's going to be.
Yes, exactly.
His high school baseball coach that we've talked about many times texted me about it. He's
upset?
He's very disappointed in Dave. He's like, everything I taught him is just apparently out the window.
That's unreal. So we'll get into that at Red Line, and we'll get into our topic today. But before we do, now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp.
Yeah. We just took Dave to therapy.
We did
last week for some of the White Sox things. I doubt it's helping him, but he's going to need to go a lot. And maybe if an in-person session doesn't work for you, you go to BetterHelp.
Yes, exactly. And who knows? Maybe it will help him. He kind of went as obviously a bit to cure him from the White Sox.
Yeah.
But
also not like he needs it. Yeah.
Yeah. Therapy is very useful for people. So
yeah, that was. I can't remember. I think it might have been the therapist that said it or somebody else, but it was like, there's two types of people in the world, people who go to therapy and people who need therapy. So it's something that could be good for everyone. And it's just, you got to be able to stay positive and do, problem solving mode when you're faced with challenges. This can help you kind of navigate your way through life. It's something that you really have to train your brain to be able to do. Some people just have like hyper, I know a girl like this, a hyper dramatic emotional reactions to little problems. And you just have to be able to keep your head on straight and and have like the proper tools and training and advice to be able to get through that. And BetterHelp is the way to do that.
Definitely. Yeah. You can learn how you can find your own solutions, and there's no better feeling. A therapist can help you become a better problem solver, making it easier to accomplish your goals no matter how big or small. If you're thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and entirely online. So get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey and switch therapists anytime. So when you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/walk today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/walk. Go check it out. Okay, Chief. What are we swinging into?
Well,
today?
the big news before we headed off the Labor Day weekend break. This has been talked about. It's the federal student debt crisis that, and it is a crisis that is facing the country. And Joe Biden, his administration, by executive order, made a few changes, and I think it was, I think if you're a holder of student debt and you qualify for this, it was warmly received. So so first things first, because of COVID, so regardless of your income, everything like that, they have suspended repayment that's required until January 1, 2023. So they have been bumping it back because everyone, took a bath. Everyone was having a hard time during COVID economically. So they had suspended payments, and then they restarted them, I want to say the beginning of 2022. That's now been pushed back. So if you're delinquent or whatever.
I don't think they ever started.
I think they did. I thought I read that they did.
He just kept pushing it back.
Kept pushing back? Okay. Yeah. So I guess I misread that in this article here, but they said that now that they give an official date of January 1, 2023 is when those repayments will start. And, there is a significant portion of the population that is 90 days delinquent or more on their federal student loan payments. So normally there's penalties that come with that. But those will be wiped away, and then they'll restart this program on January 1st, 2023. So I think that is a good thing. The amount of money, okay, so it's up to $20,000 if you were a Pell Grant recipient. So a Pell Grant, I think if you're not familiar or you just simply don't remember. Do you know that my first job out of college was being a financial aid advisor?
Yeah. And you said you felt not great about it.
Oh yeah, we could probably talk about that too. But
we should say too, we got into this. When was it? At the beginning of summer. We had a good conversation just about student debt or whatever.
Was Dante here for that one?
No, it was just us two.
Okay.
And I know people really liked it because a lot of people are obviously in this boat.
Yeah.
So maybe go check that out.
44.3 million people have federal student debt.
It's a lot of people.
So a lot of people. But anyway, so if you receive the Pell Grant, and a Pell Grant is a need-based grant. So if if you're 18, you turn in your taxes, your parents' federal income taxes, and based upon what the income was, they will grant you a certain amount. I want to say the max. I don't know what it is right now. I'll pull it up.
So that was on January 25th. So it was well before summer. Sorry,
9 months ago. So the max that you can get per semester right now is $6,895 in Pell Grant. So that's if you have a very low income family, that gets awarded, gets put towards your education. So if you received that, they deem you as a person that is eligible for up to $20,000. And the reason that and everybody else, is so long as you're making under $125,000 or $250 if you're married, everyone else is up to $10,000. And the reason for the language is that in that up to is they don't want people being like, well, I'm eligible for 20. I want 20. And then they only have like $6,000 in debt. So it's like, give me a free, extra 10, 12, 14 grand or whatever it is. Like, no, like if you have 6,000 in debt and you qualify for this aid, you don't get to go above and beyond that and just have like free money.
Yeah.
Which I think you could argue that maybe they should get that full allotment, because it's like, look, like if you're 35 and you've been paying this down diligently, and it's been very cumbersome for you, why should you, who have already paid this off, not be eligible for this debt repayment, essentially? So if it's deemed like this is something that America needs and people need, then why shouldn't you get the full allotment just because you've been better about paying off your debt? I don't know. That's an argument you can make, but that's why they put that language in there, so you don't get more than you're actually carrying in debt. So you can get your debt if you are qualifying for $20,000, you have $20,000 of debt, whoosh, your debt's gone. And same thing for the other people up to 10,000, and it's actually 45.4 million people have this federal student debt.
And that's for the Pell Grants only, though, correct?
That's up to 20,000. Yeah. Everybody else is up to 10,000. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and again, it depends on how much debt you're carrying. So,
sorry, one more time, the difference between a Pell Grant person and
it's just a need-based grant.
Gotcha.
So, if let's say you come from a family where your parents together make I'm making up numbers. I can't remember exactly what it was, and I'm sure it's changed since, that job I had was probably 15 years ago now. 14 years ago. It was my first job out of college, whatever. And so that is like, if your total household income is $45,000, then you're going to get some Pell Grant, because like the cost of your tuition, likely, depending on where you go, but the way that things have gone, is going to be way more than your parents and your take-home income. So this is the federal government giving you a little bit extra to help try to bridge that gap, which probably just covers books at this point, $6,000 worth of books. But that is where that comes from.
Hey, let's take another quick break here as well, Chief, because we want to talk about the Game Time app, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. And big news, I think the boys are going to be at week 1, Bears-Niners.
I think we are. I think that's the plan. And this is, I like baseball. I like it. I like going to the ballpark. I love football. I love football. There's just something about that crisp air, the hitting, the noises, it's a bigger crowd. Football season, you need only one app to get through it, and it's that Game Time app, because you want to get the best prices, last minute deals. You do that through Game Time.
Exactly. Game Time is a ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. So download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem code DOGWALK for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Football.
College football.
Football. Go get some tickets at the Game Time app. All right, let's get back into the episode.
This is something that is being hotly debated, and it's getting me angry on every side of, because it's like you have, I understand why. Here's my biggest problem with it. I think that this treats the symptom and not the disease that is the cost of education.
Agreed.
So if you're someone who's, forget it, we mentioned the people before who's like, they kind of get screwed. So if you had paid for your college instead of taking out debt, then you still lost that. You still paid that money. Or if you paid your student loans on time, and so it's like, well, because I paid for it up front or paid for whatever, like I still had to incur that cost. And, I think about people like my dad. Like my dad grew up very, very, very poor, and he put himself through college, and he would do things like he went to a school in Maine, and he would hitchhike to a bar in Portland to bartend because he could make more there, and then hitchhike home. And if he couldn't get home at 3 a.m. hitchhiking along the highway in the fucking winter, well, then he would break into an RV lot, find one that was open, like a showroom for RVs, sleep in the RV, and then if God forbid somebody came in the morning, he would just pretend like he was a customer. It's like, oh, show me that. Okay, like so he
That's
did
something.
Right, and then he worked in all these, and then he took out student loans, and I remember being a kid when he paid it off, and it was like we had like a little celebration for it. But I think he was in his 40s.
Oh yeah.
So it took him a long time. And that was when cost of education was much lower, and he was working all the time. And that was like another thing. My dad, he was like a very, very good high school football player. He was playing college football his freshman year, and he had a horrible knee injury playing basketball. Couldn't afford the surgery, not because like he had insurance, but he couldn't afford to not work. And because otherwise he wouldn't be able to pay for college. So he just dealt with this. He had a torn ACL, torn MCL, torn cartilage for 40 years. And he just had a knee replacement. But it was like, I can't take 6 months to rehab because then I'll just have to drop out of school. So I'll just deal with this and like quit football and just deal with not, with the walking in pain every single day for 40 years.
That's pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal. But so he would not, he's 60 something now. So it's not like he gets to benefit necessarily from this program, but it's like I'm sure there are people who are my age who went through that exact same circumstance. It's like, well, what the fuck? Okay. And the other problem, okay, with this, like we said, treats a symptom, not the disease. If you do this program now, and I think, what was the total cost of this is projected to be? sorry, I didn't have this one written down.
Very good.
But it's like in the billions, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's $24 billion per year, okay? That's how much that's from the White House. It's going to cost $24 billion per year as long as this program is going on.
Wait, so are they going to forgive 10 a year?
I'm pulling that up too.
Oh, I thought it was just 10 total. I didn't realize it'd be 10.
$24 billion, markedly lower, blah, 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 blah. This is over a 10-year period, okay? So this proposed program, okay?
Oh, no shit.
But what is to prevent, you're going to have this same situation perpetually unless you get the cost of education lower. And, there used to be, Ronald Reagan was the governor of California before he was president. One of the things he did in California, higher college education in California used to be free. So if you qualified to get in, which it was very selective, they had a great public, Cal Berkeley, UCLA, all of these, the California university system is at a way higher standard than, say, like the SUNY system in New York. It's just like seen as you have like high end college education out there. And then he was like, we're going to actually make you pay, I think it was like $400 a year. And people were outraged. But that was one of the things that kind of opened the door to have, exorbitant costs. And that, because California kind of leads the way, and not that they were kind of one of the only states at that point that had totally free education. But part of the reason why the education has gone so high is administration costs. And that is just something like the administrators are just paying themselves. So it's not like the gap between, it's two kind of different, interesting things going on here at the same time, where your college education, your cost of education since 1980 is up 169%. Since 1980. If we want to go back to what the fuck happened in 1971, it's well beyond that 169%. But 169% in 42 years or 40 years since that study came out in 2020. The pay for college educated workers upon graduation in that same time period has only gone up 19%. Okay. So it's outpacing the people who are taking out the loans just cannot pay them back.
Yeah.
Okay. Then at the same time, the gap between a high school graduate yearly income and a college graduate, that gap has never been bigger. So it's a $22,000 gap. So it's like, okay, so then it goes back to like the fairness question, where it's like, hey, you have all these kids, these people who didn't go to college for whatever reason. Maybe a lot of them just like, I just can't afford it. I'm not taking out that debt. So they're going to be statistically earning far less money without the benefit of this program. And they might have credit card debt. They might have a lot of credit card debt trying to get things paid and get, all these different things situated for their life, car debt, all these things they can drive to their job. They get nothing. So they're earning less. They're always going to earn less per the numbers. And they're not able to participate in this debt forgiveness at all because they made a decision not to go for whatever reason. Maybe it was they couldn't qualify, but also maybe it was because they just said, hey, like I have no means to pay for this whatsoever. I just got to go get a job. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot of people. But so it's like, okay, so I didn't make a mistake of incurring all this, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And what do I get for that? Fucking nothing. And the person that took all that out and will earn more than me, they get a handout. That if I were one of those people, I would be pissed off.
But it's not like a full handout, though. Like it's
but what do they get?
Like sure, they're nothing. You're right. They get nothing, and the other person gets something.
Right.
But dude, for a lot of these people, 10,000 isn't even a fucking dent.
Agreed.
Like, not even a dent.
Yeah. You're talking like $300 a month.
Yes, dude, like not shit. And I'm not saying it should be more or anything. I'm just saying, like, it's not like these people are eating fucking steaks after this shit.
No, I know, but like if you're a person, so the median salary for a college educated person now, ages 22 to 27, is $52,000. it's $30,000 for that same age group for high school graduates. So you can say it might not make a dent, but they're already making $22,000 more. So the people who are just high school graduates, I don't know what to tell them, and especially if lower and middle income classes are going to be, because that's what Ted Cruz is kind of talking about, like who's going to pay for this. That's another thing that I never want to hear about that ever again. Who's going to pay for this? It's like, we can't afford this, $24 billion program, blah, blah, blah. With a stroke of a pen here, give $40 billion to Ukraine again. So it's like, is money even fucking real?
Yeah.
So like, don't like, there's always money when it's needed. You need $1 trillion to bail out Wall Street? Fucking fine. You need $24 billion to wipe away student debt? Well, we're going to have to raise taxes. We're going to have to pay for this. It's all just like a fucking political cudgel or political football just to like argue over. But it just that part like drives me crazy. But to me, it's more about like the fairness thing. And there's nothing about this act where they're wiping away $10,000 to $20,000 of student debt does anything to solve the problem. Do you know how much college universities have currently in endowments?
I mean, it varies, but
across the country, the total cumulative.
Oh God, billions, man. Probably over 100 billion.
Almost 700 billion.
Okay.
And that figure was from 2020. So maybe, I don't know if I don't know where those stands now, but that was the latest statistic I could find was in 2020. $691 billion is what college universities, those aren't taxed. Those endowment funds are not taxed. They're not taxed at all.
Yeah.
So maybe you could tax some of that $691 billion to help pay for this, because nobody is holding the universities accountable who say, if you take out $300,000 in debt, you will make X amount of money. Well, the data shows that's simply not true. Mm-hmm. Since you're only, you are going to make more than someone who doesn't have it, but you're not going to make enough to pay for the college. So it's really just like a transfer of debt or transfer of wealth from young people to older administrators. And that's really all it is.
Yeah.
And because you can't, and if they could point to something beyond this $52,000 versus $30,000, if they could point to something and be like, well, you're going to make this, and the data backs it up. But to me, if it's like the cost is rising by 600 or 169%, well, then the compensation for those people who are paying for that should almost mirror that. It should be in the ballpark. And some of that is aptitude, of course. Like, hey, like some guys just like a brilliant lawyer, he's going to make millions and pay this off and no problem. But if it's like, so you might have a little bit of a gap, but you can't have 150% difference in what people are making with that versus what it costs since that rise in 1980.
Yeah.
So there's no protections to curb the cost, to get more value out of it. And it just seems fundamentally unfair to me for these people who either already paid it off or chose not to go into the system, because it's just like they're worse off to begin with.
Yeah, but
without that education.
No, I know. I told you before the pod. I was completely on loans for college, and it's fucking, dude. It's a mountain.
It is.
Thankfully, we have good jobs now, and I didn't. That was not always the case out of college for me.
Totally.
And I was like, dude, there's no fucking way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, there's no fucking way. Thankfully, with this job, I've been able to pay down a lot of it, and I stopped like right when I saw this was going to happen. I was like, I want to see what happens and everything, but I don't feel bad that I had to pay mine. I really don't, and I don't know if that makes me like an idiot or a pussy, but like I'm like, I don't know. Like I truthfully and like I know how bad some people have it, and I'm like, you know what? Like I'm honestly fortunate that I was able to pay mine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally,
like, truthfully, like,
totally. And right, like I that's a sense of gratitude, and like that's I think that's something that is severely lacking across not just in this issue but across the board. But at the same time, like I would be fine with this if there were other measures attached, like, hey, like we have to do, because all of these, they're nonprofit institutions, okay, so they're tax exempt. We're talking, all these public schools, And
yeah, the issue is the larger thing here.
Yeah,
right. Like
right.
that's the thing.
So right, if you want to forgive debt because school systems, which are and these, there was a thing while I was a financial aid advisor, this sort of switched, where you used to be able to have, hey, Chase, go to Chase, and Chase would be the writer of your federal loan. So you would, so it's a federal loan with those locked in rates, and that was the way it was since the beginning of that program. And you could go to all these different banks, and everybody would give you the exact same cap amount for your education, the exact same interest rate, and it was federally insured, basically, by federally insured by the government. And eventually, the government said no. Every single federal student loan is actually just going to be through one of our entities, so Sallie Mae, right to the student. And so that's a government sponsored, a GSE, a government sponsored enterprise, and they were going to be the ones managing that. But before that, you had private banks issuing federal loans, and so it was a way for the banks to kind of make money theoretically without any risk, because the government, if they're like, hey, like this person is in default, they could go to the government would pay it off, and then the bank would get off scot-free, and the student would be essentially fucked. But that was part of the situation. That's not the case anymore. Now it's all the government. And it's also interesting to me that there's only one type of debt that is not forgiven by declaring bankruptcy, which is student loan debt.
Yeah.
So what the fuck is that about too? So if they took measures, I think everybody would be on board. And it seems like there should be a deal to be made there where we're going to do something about these endowment funds, where some of it's going to have to come from that. A percentage of everybody's endowment fund is going to go towards funding this program. B, we're going to do a federal audit of every single public institution, state and federal audit, to see where exactly is all this money going. Okay. And we're going to force you to limit the costs one way or another, and prove that there is value in the way that you're spending and allocating these funds. And then, maybe put a limit on what you can charge for education. And then rather than just be like, here it is, like here's $20,000, a person, and we'll see you again in 5 years, because that's, to me, it's just like, well, until you figure out why the costs are so high and why the value is so low, we're not getting anywhere. We're just going to be caught in the same cycle forever.
It's crazy, man. The interest rates are nuts.
Yep.
And we're at a point where, like, we just pick and choose what ages things should be suitable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you could drink alcohol when you're 21, but you could fucking sign your life away for all this debt at 18. Like, it makes no sense.
And there's no like education on that either. Like, this is what this actually means. This is what you'll have to make. This is what most people make. What do you want to do? And then have some sort of situation. Also,
I was a fucking idiot at 18, dude.
Everyone is. Like, you don't even have a fully developed brain until you're 25.
Yeah.
But, and the whole drinking thing, okay, that used to be 18 all over the place. And then insurance agencies lobbied to get that changed to 21 because they're seeing, higher rates of kids in car accidents when they're younger because they're dumber.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's take those same kids who are younger and dumber, and we've decided that they're younger and dumber and incapable of making a decision about how much they should drink, but we're going to allow them to make a decision about how much debt they should take out.
Yeah.
So how does that, or if they should go into the military, or they should vote on public policy? Like, these are like, you're right. It is totally arbitrary. It's just like whatever fits their needs. And it's like the same thing with the money thing.
Yeah, nothing's perfect, bro. Like, I get that too.
And I think that is, that's one of the arguments out there, I would say, is that, don't let, like, this program is not perfect by any stretch, but don't let that, like, get in the way of something that is helpful and good.
Yeah.
And I think that is a fair argument. And if you really want to help people, this will help people, but you're going to have to perpetually help people. Yeah. Because you're not getting to the root of the problem.
I think the bigger deal is in this whole bill. It's a bill, right?
Yeah. Well, it's an executive order.
It's an executive order.
Yeah. So it hasn't gone through Congress.
I think the biggest part here is I want to say there is now an allotted amount that you have to pay back. And that's what's kind of getting overlooked right now, where there's only like a small percentage that people are still going to have to pay. until it's going to be completely forgiven, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it's like an income percentage, and it goes
Yeah.
off your net, and it's
So that's like another part of the program where they're going to extend that like 20 years. So it used to be 10, but it's going to be like a almost similar to the Pell Grant, where it's like need-based repayments. So it's like you can pay a percentage of your quote unquote discretionary income, but it's like, well, I do think that at times discretionary income is hard to gauge, and that moves all the time.
Yeah.
From personal experience, my discretionary income this year is not what it was in 2021, despite making about the same money, because inflation's out of fucking control.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, and like your cost of living, the cost of everything is going up, but people are making the same or less.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you have to figure out all these things to have a good policy? And it's just people, I think the timing of this is, I think it's not suspicious would be the wrong term, but midterms are in 2 months.
Yeah, no.
So
for
I
sure.
think, so it's like you get these people back, and everyone's like, oh well, we're for the working class. Like both parties are saying that now. Well, it's like, I don't even know who the working class is anymore. It feels like we don't really, it's like, and I don't think that it's like a solidified base the way it was in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, where it's like the union guys or the working class. It's, union, whatever number, pipe fitters. Like that used to be thought of as working class. Well, I don't think that's not really the case. And I think it's a bigger umbrella with differing political views at this point. And, and I don't know. It's just the government gives out bailouts and handouts and incentive programs for all sorts of things. So I don't know why this one, for more money, like, farmers got a shit ton of money not that long ago.
Maybe. I think we might have talked about it briefly.
Which and then chip manufacturers got, big time incentive program to, manufacture in the United States.
For like the cars and shit.
Well, for cars, but all sorts of it goes in fucking everything now.
Dude, did I tell you, did we ever do an episode? I don't know if we did an episode on that chip stuff.
I don't think so.
Maybe we did. I heard from someone who just bought an Audi, and they said the chip thing's so bad that they can't. If you bought a car and you wanted to move your seat, you'd have to go to the dealership to have them move your seat.
Get the fuck out of here. So they're just building cars without any chips? Or they're...
they're like, hey, we just don't have them right now. So
give me that fucking bar underneath the seat. So just just slide back.
Yeah. Like they're like, so like if you're with your, your wife and you got to drive and she wants to drive, you can't move the seat up for her.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
And that's Audi.
That was Audi. Yeah.
See, like,
and that's what someone told me. I don't have firsthand.
I would not be surprised if that were the case. It sounds plausible to me, but that chip thing is like a huge problem.
Oh yeah.
And that's like, we talked about this on the rundown briefly, but the whole, the EV mandate in California where they're not allowed to sell cars.
That until 2035 or whatever.
Yeah, they're like they're banning cars. So who knows if that was a Gavin Newsom thing? Who knows if that policy will ever actually come into effect? But it's like you're gonna ban cars, okay? And I have like issues with that on a lot of levels. But it's like it just doesn't solve any problem because what are those cars? What California is really powered on now is natural gas. So if you have everybody on, which burns cleaner than gasoline or diesel, I suppose, but if you have everybody on those, you're still going to be burning natural gas at a higher rate. Then you also have to have all these, a higher rate of chips and battery and, those, what do you call those minerals, to make the batteries, these, the elements,
lithium,
all that shit. And they're trying to do a deal with Chile right now. Chile has they're kind of a fascinating, we might have to do an episode on that too. But they had like a big, not like a revolution, but protest where they were going to throw out the Constitution. And, so they voted we're going to rewrite our Constitution. Okay. Wow. So then they rewrote the Constitution and it was really heavy. I can't I'm not going to read the proposed Chilean Constitution, but I read that it was very socialist, which is what people had been campaigning for. Okay, So then they put it to a referendum. The whole country voted. We want to adopt this as our constitution. 68% read the constitution, said, fuck this. So it's just like, well, no one knows, like, it seems like people have ideas. They're probably good ideas on like a lower level. And it's the same thing as us. It goes through the system and everything gets fucking added in. You come out, you don't recognize what you submitted. And it's like, well, we're voting this down. But Chile, they have found like a shit ton of like lithium and like these rare earth minerals needed to make batteries and chips and all those sorts of things. So we're like in the process of trying to set up like a huge trade deal with Chile, so we don't have to be importing all these chips from China. So and all these rare earth minerals from China, because like that doesn't really solve any problems either.
Yeah.
So, and I guess supposedly their chips are lower quality, they burn out faster. So it seems like every day there's something that's just like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe, like that thing where it's like, we want a new constitution. Okay, we wrote it. Here it is. Fuck that. 68 to 6. When was the last time anybody in America agreed on something at a 68% rate?
Yeah.
68% is high.
And it's impossible to know, man. You know, you just can't. It's just very hard to understand people's intentions. Like, I don't know. Like, who knows? Like, sure, I could see people saying, oh, it's a midterm move, but, who knows? Like, same thing with Newsom. Like, maybe he genuinely is like, hey, I think this is the right move to stop climate change. But, like, maybe it's a fucking huge pander. Like, you know what I mean?
My gut says that it's a huge pander, that he's looking at the landscape for 2024.
And sure.
And he's like, I want to play to the base. This law will never go into effect, and I can drum up support.
No, I got you.
Guess.
I got you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's interesting, and like we always say, like sometimes there's just like no answers.
Yeah,
that's just all there is to it.
I got a little interesting nugget to end on.
What do you got?
From Darren Ravel.
Oh God.
Barstool Sports has filed a trademark application to, quote, pirate water. Filing says the company plans to use the trademark on a ready-to-drink alcohol malt beverage. So, like our own Truly or White Claw.
Oh,
interesting.
Pirate water.
I like the name.
That is interesting.
Yep.
Pirate water. Look out for pirate water. Nice plug.
Yep.
All right, Chief. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for listening. Obviously, these discussions are very. They're like nuance the right word? I don't know. Like
nuance.
Nuance.
Yeah, like it's nuance, and we don't know everything, and it's from 30,000 feet, and it's just like kind of our gut reaction to the situation, and it's just like, I don't know what the problem is, but this is not, or I don't know what the solution is, but I know like this is not enough. Like, this is not it.
And it's deeper than what is on
the surface and what we can find out and read. Yeah.
Correct. Well, all right, everybody. That's it for today. We will be back tomorrow. Chief, you'll be back on Thursday, actually. Me, you, Big John, and Danny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big John.
It's a good time.
That was a good time.
Good time. So look out for that. Look out for tomorrow's episode. And, we'll see you then.